Good afternoon, Commissioners. I appreciate everyone being here. This is a preliminary agenda review that we're having. Everything is open for discussion. There's going to be no votes taken, and we're just going to continue to handle this informally as we've done the last couple of months. I would like to open, though, with a Pledge of Allegiance. If you all would please stand. Salute. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So moving forward, I will just name the numbers, and if anyone wants to make a comment or stop me, please let me know. Was there anything on the educational consent agenda that anyone cared to speak about or had questions about? Be sure we get the right folks here next week. Okay, I am looking at general government consent calendar. I'm looking at items 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20? Seeing no lights. 21. So that's a big yay. Money that we hadn't anticipated. Mr. Ward.
Sorry, for 16, I have to recuse myself.
All right, if you just please make that known next week. All right, looking back on 21, any questions about this? 22, 23, 24, excuse me, 25.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Since we have representatives from the fire services here, do we want to just have a quick overview of the found money that each of them is getting?
They certainly are welcome to do that. Who are we looking at out there with fire services?
Well,
Madam
I
Chair,
think community.
this was discussed actually at the Fire Technical Rescue, and they asked if they need to be present for the agenda review, and I let them know that we would prefer that they come to the regular meeting.
All right, excellent, excellent.
But the ones who are here, if they want to speak, of course, I just want to make it known for those who are not.
That they're saving it for next week. Good, all right. Does anyone want to speak before next week?
Mr. Seymour's got it.
Mr. Seymour, did you have some comments?
Perhaps. So,
Just please give your name
I'm
for
sorry.
the record.
Brent Seymour, 505 Summer Place, 37902. So essentially, as Commissioner Frazier describes, this was discussed in our Fire and Technical Rescue Committee meeting. This is the the ARPA funds that we've, I guess, designated is a little strong word, to each department for projects that each of their leadership got together and came up with that would be in the best interest of the department and would benefit the department and the citizens that they serve.
Is this mainly for equipment then?
I'm sorry, sir?
Is this mainly for equipment?
Yes, sir. All of the projects are equipment-related projects, other than the Carnes project, which you guys so graciously approved a couple of months back for the training facility.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Daly, Commissioner Daly?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My own. This is, as Mr. Seymour says, this is the ARPA funds that we've been holding, and Mr. Seymour and all the captains and chiefs got together and decided what projects, along with finance, and these were the projects they chose. So it was a long process. It wasn't something that came overnight. It was a long process of deciding what projects to use, and believe me, it was well thought out and well use of the money from the ARPA funds.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you give us an update on, I can't remember how many, if it was last year or the year before, we were all working towards a more regional training facility that everybody used,
Yes, sir.
instead of having everybody have their own individual structures. What happened about that? I thought we had land out in Eastbridge, or where are we with that, or did that all just go away?
It's not went away, Commissioner. What we have found is the parameters that are required to prep that land prior to development came in at about a $4 million estimate prior to being able to go in and start building training facilities on it. That's probably a little steep for what our fire service partners were able to do. One of the things that I'd like to look at is communicating with the development court and see if there's any way we could maybe prep that acreage without having, I hate to say not meeting those parameters, but enabling us to develop that land for a training facility that may be more cost prohibitive for our agencies.
I mean, I understand the committee and I understand the process it went through, but I'm going to echo the same thing I think I've echoed for the last 3 years. At some point, we need to start working on a region, a cooperative regional level with all of our fire and emergency teams, including the city of Knoxville, in a facility or facilities that benefit everybody in a greater sense long-term, instead of everybody building up their own little fiefdoms with their own equipment and their own training and their own stuff, and having us redundantly fund more and more stuff that doesn't collectively build the whole. So
Yeah,
I'm just
I
gonna
agree
say it
with you.
again, but
Yeah, I agree with you
doesn't seem like we're
100%.
not, we
Yeah.
still seem to not be doing that.
Yes, sir. To get the city involved, and I hate to speak for the city, but as you absolutely know, to get the city involved, that type of facility would more than likely need to at least be close to the city, if not within. And I'm going to guess you're looking, the facility they're on right now, the city of Knoxville's on right now, is a 13-acre facility, and to find that amount of property within a central location is a little bit difficult. But I'm with you 100%. It just makes sense to have our agencies pulling into the center because that helps us cover the areas that are left vacant. That helps us, we get more training bang for our buck. And it just makes sense. Absolutely it does.
Any other questions? And please do come back next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the explanations. All right, 26, which is actually related. 27, 28, 29 or 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 or 35. Seeing no lights. 36, 37. Moving on to page 8. 38, 39, 38. Mr. Daly?
Madam Chair, we back
Commissioner
up
Daly?
to 36.
All right.
Mr. Mack? I see you hiding back there.
Yes, sir.
Name and address and phone number.
Joseph Mack, 2247 Sutherland Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. This has been a process for these bylaws for the organization for a while, hasn't it?
Quite some time, yes, sir.
I read over the bylaws. I think it's a great theme because we've got so many, Seymour's one organization, Hall's, Carter, all of them organizations, so we need to be under one type of umbrella.
Yes, sir.
Could you explain how this happened and why it happened and what you see the benefits of it is. So I can relay this on when I get a question from,
Sure. Yes, sir. So the idea behind this is to really have a governing body that's made up of citizens that are elected in Knox County to represent their community with regards to youth sports. So the idea behind this came from really a working group that we started when I first got here, it's probably 2021, to gather a group of youth sports commissioners, parents, and organizations. We put together this working group, and we really drafted these bylaws, back then, and we've been tweaking them ever since. The idea behind this is, as a government entity that really provides facilities for the nonprofits to manage their youth sports organizations, we needed to have some type of group that represented all of those organizations. So if there was a conflict within an organization with regards to their bylaws, and this could be anything, a discrepancy or an issue that they might be having with a coach or with a parent or with a player, that the bylaws of that governing body would really kind of set the tone for what I guess the ramifications would be for someone who stepped outside of the rules. This governing body, this Knox County Youth Sports Advisory Board, would really be the athletic group that someone can go and appeal a decision made by a youth sports organization in one of the communities. Instead of bringing it to Knox County government, they would be bringing it to a body made up of citizens in Knox County that are elected to represent their community. So we thought this was a fair way to do things. It took us out of that role of authority as a government to make decisions that would be impacting the communities. We put the onus back on the communities to elect these people that would make a uniform group, basically, that govern youth sports for all of Knox County.
well, I think it's a great idea. Over the past 8 years, or since you've been here, what, 6 years now, 5, 6 years?
5, yes, sir.
You and I have had a few discussions about
Yes,
this
sir.
right here, and I think it's a fantastic thing that
Yes,
you're
sir.
doing. And that helps the organization of that ballpark.
Yes, sir.
Because now they've got rules, and they say, hey, this is the rules, this is what
Right.
you've got to do.
Right.
So, congratulations, I think it's a great thing.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Director
you.
Mack. All right, revisiting 37. 38. 39. 40. 41 has been withdrawn, for your information, or will be withdrawn. 42,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Thank you. I just wanted to recognize the team at our procurement department. They had an unusual situation where their contractor kind of went out of business overnight, and then they had to jump through some hoops to be able to find a replacement company to be able to wash our county vehicles. So I thought you guys did a great job under some unexpected circumstances.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Matt Myers, Knox County Procurement. Just, would appreciate the approval so we can get some vehicles washed.
Okay, and then I have a question about 43 for the same department.
All right, if you'd like to continue.
Thank you. Mr. Myers, is this just a continuation of the contract that we approved a year to suspend the rules previously on purchasing vehicles?
Yes, sir.
We're just suspending it another
Like to do
term?
one more year if I.
Okay,
if you-
and that has worked out well for the procurement department?
It really has. I will say the sheriff's office, has used that pretty good. Schools has used it very well. Got some information from the Central Procurement Office where they talk about the electric vehicle production they're trying to ramp up, and it takes space of internal combustion engines. So it's still going to have that, effect. They're trying to make both, and they're making less of both, so they're just harder to get. They really are. And this has helped out tremendously, so I appreciate the past year.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for procurement? Thank you. All right, looking at number 44.
Yes, I think Finance wants to do a presentation.
Does anyone have any questions as Finance is coming forward about this proposal? Seeing none?
Yes, yeah, I do, but I'm
you wanna
waiting.
wait?
I think he's going to call somebody else.
All right.
He's going to do the two-step.
Mr. Caldwell, the floor is yours.
Chris Caldwell, Knox County. I would do the two-step, but Mark's not here, so I will answer questions that you all may have related to the financial service agreement, and whatever I cannot answer, he will be here Monday to answer those questions.
Okay, do you want to walk us through it?
Sure. So ultimately, the simplistic way to look at this is the cost of the water line will be paid for by the developer. And then what will happen over a period of years, then he is repaid with interest by 50% of our occupancy tax, which is motel tax, on the hotels that are coming in on his property. And so I was saying this to somebody today. It is very similar, not exact from the agreement, but if you think about what we did at the stadium with the TIF loan with Mr. Boyd, to where he put up $20 million and then got repaid with the TIF, well, could get repaid with the TIF district with interest. This is very similar. It's just this vehicle is with use of motel tax, and I think the terms will mirror that of the TIF agreement that you all approved back in December of '23. So it's not 100% of motel tax. It will be 50% of the motel tax from the hotels of the development, because as you all know, by statute, motel tax is designated for purposes. So 10% must go to the city of Knoxville, so we can't use theirs, and then 40% goes to the direct promotion of tourism, so we can't use that, but we can use our 50%. And so that's what will go back to the IDB to pay back. Mr. Maddox, who will do the payment up front. He will keep his agreement with West Knox Utility, so that will not change. And this is just an agreement that attaches on to the TIF that was approved in December.
So the original contract that was signed on December 1st of 2022 with the developer and West Knox Utility District, that contract will still stay in place?
Yes, that will not change. And so ultimately, that is an agreement between those two. I know that we had a resolution that was pulled that would assign that to us, but we have pulled that, and that has nothing to do with what's before you with the financial service agreement.
Okay, so West Knox Utility would still be responsible for 20% of the cost of that project up to the certain cap amount?
Correct. I think it's capped at 600,000. And so that is the cap. And the man, the myth, the legend has walked in, so I could probably sit down.
Okay, and then under the agreement with the Industrial Development Board, when they classify it as the water line project, is there a cap on the total cost of the project? Because when it was estimated in December of '22, it was over $3 million, and now it's probably closer to $4 million. So, and they haven't started any, they didn't do any work for 2.5 years, so if there's an extensive period of time before they start construction of the water line, is there a cap with the IDB on the amount of money that they would receive?
I will
Is that a
look-
Mammoth
I will look
question?
to the mark on the cap. I know that Jim talked to West Knox Utilities Friday, and I think they now estimate the water line at 3 million. And so they were.
So
at
it's gone
2,
down in
so
price?
Was it?
No.
It went from 2 to 3,
2 to 3.
so it's 3 million is the estimate.
Okay, and who will serve as the contractor for that? Because before, I think you wanted West Knox Utility to serve as the contractor, so is that now off the table and the developer will hire their own contractor?
We'll let Jim answer that. He knows that answer.
Yes, Commissioner Schoonmaker. In the agreement that was referenced, that's between West Knox Utility and Mr. Maddox, Mr. Maddox is responsible for securing the contractor and managing the work, and then West Knox Utility will inspect it to their standards. West Knox will procure the rights of way for that at their expense and deduct that from that $600,000, but Mr. Maddox will obtain the contractor through competitive solicitation of some sorts.
Okay. And I have a question for Mr. Mamatoff.
I'm so sorry. I did not know I would wear a tie. I'm so sorry. Thanks. So I'm Mark
I didn't.
Mamatoff, tieless, embarrassed, and I really like your new digs, though. This is pretty cool. Thanks.
Mark, I knew you weren't going to wear a tie, so I didn't wear a tie,
I
just so you
appreciate
wouldn't
that.
feel
I wanted
bad.
to come see you on one of your last meetings, so that's great. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate that. In doing this agreement, was this very unusual for this type of agreement in the state of Tennessee?
It is somewhat unique. I mean, probably I've done 5 to 10 similar agreements. Never used this statute in Knox County before, but have done similar projects across a number of jurisdictions. It was a little bit unusual. Chris asked me if there was a way legally to get where only the hotel motel, and this was the best methodology I could come up with. So yes, it's not widely used, but we've used it and have used it successfully with a number of loans. Just a quick side story. I'm using this same statute on a very large Buc-ee's out in West Tennessee right now. So please stop there on your way to Memphis when if you missed the one in Crossville. I think so.
Well, over the years, I've always asked that, are you comfortable with this?
Yes.
And so I'm asking that now.
Yeah,
on
I'm
this.
comfortable with the statutory basis for this, the commitment of the county to this. I mean, for the business decision, obviously, is for this body to decide. But I do believe that this is certainly a good way to tie the benefit to the community to the reimbursement, and so I think that it works. Chris had asked me to address the cap because when I was working on this, it came up fairly quickly. That issue will have to be dealt with directly in the development agreement, and so I definitely expect there'll be a cap in the IDB development agreement where they implement this.
Okay. And they'll take that up if this goes through next month?
Yes, they would take it up next month if you all decide to go forward. So,
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, it's great to see you all.
Mr. Maddox, I see you and your company here. Did you have questions or comments or?
I think I'd just like to make a couple of comments, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Steve Maddox, 100 Dalton Place Way, Knoxville. I was the one to put those agreements together. We know that I'm the one that signed and all, but I don't ever remember the number 3.5 or 4 million. Back at that time, it was 2 to 2.5, and I think now, with the cost as they are now, 2.5 to 3 is going to be a more correct number. The one thing that I've talked about before numerous times is that this water line does not just help this development. This water line opens up that entire end of the county, and there is no fire flow down there now. The fire truck hooked to one fire hydrant, and that's all the fire that he can fight, because there's just not enough water. So this water line opens up that entire end of the county, and I'd just like for that to be on the record.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I know that Mr. Maddox has been very open to offer tours and all, and I appreciate you doing that for us. Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question, Mr. Maddox. So is this the agreement that you thought it was going to be, or how does it differ if it's not?
Yeah, this agreement's been changed. It's gone around 2 or 3 different ways. This was originally included in the TIF from our standpoint of the budgets that we put together. That when that TIF got cut back, there went the water line from our standpoint. Then the roads were going to come in partially by the state and with the county working together. And then that's when the water line was going to be built so that they would work together. Well, when the state and the county roads got slowed down, then we talked to the county, and the county said, okay, well, this water line needs to go in. There's no doubt about it. So they'll put the water line in and take over my agreement with West Knox Utility. But then I think due to some other wisdom, the agreement got changed now to where we'll go ahead and pay for the water line, and it's going to be added back in through this agreement. We'll be repaid over numerous years through this agreement with the IDB, which kind of relates back to where the TIF should have been. And so we're good with this agreement. It's not exactly what we agreed on, but we're good with it, and it's going to be of a great benefit to that entire end of the county.
So you are in agreement with it?
I am in agreement with it,
Okay.
yes.
I did enjoy coming and looking at your project. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Maddox, I enjoyed the tour also. Growing up here, it was kind of cool to go up on top of I thought we were going to get stuck for sure. It had rained the day before, but I think it's a great project. I think it's going to bring dollars into Knox County. We're going to get to keep them, not have to share them, which I think is awesome. So I just want to commend you for doing something with a forethought to the county, not just in a development standpoint, that you're thinking about other, people in the county. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for your comment.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Any other words, Mr. Maddox?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Commission, we'll move on to the next item, which I believe is 45, 46, 47, 48 has been withdrawn, 49.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
if I may.
Yes, sir.
There was one other point that needs to be made, and I'm sorry, I didn't make it in my previous statement.
It's all right.
This water line being a utility, public utility, it has to go into a public bid format, and that's how the price and everything will be determined. In other words, I'm not the one that oversees it, or neither is West Knox. We just work together on putting out and getting bids, public bids. So,
Thank you.
Just let
Good
you know.
information to know.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, I'm looking at item 49, and I do see that our county clerk is here and may want to address this. Mr. Schoonmaker, do you have
I was just going to
questions?
say, I think this is a great opportunity to once again see our fabulous Knox County clerk, but also in their efforts to bring their services to the community on a better level now, particularly out west, which affects the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and maybe some of the 6 districts out there. So I'm
Yeah.
appreciative, and then also having joined with the trustees office too. So I think that's going to be a great. So you want to kind of walk us through what you're planning?
Well, thank you for your kind words, Commissioner. We're looking forward to a new building possibly. The possibilities are just endless with this. The building that we've been in ever since I've been in office, I've been very concerned about the parking, I mean, there absolutely, people are just lined up around the building. So we've been looking, and we'd get to a point and then something would happen with it. And so we've gotten further this time, and we're hoping that soon that we can get this going and get started on it. And it's just the square footage, the parking, the need. I think we have been in that building since 2001. And I think the trustee can attest to, it's just, the volume of customers out there is unbelievable. And somebody said, well, do you think it's going to be easy to find? I said, it doesn't matter where it is. They will find us. So it is easy to find. It's right off the interstate, and it's, I think the traffic flow to there will be easy. And as well as the health department. They'll be there. They take up almost half of the room. So they were willing to go as well. And hopefully, of course, I'll let Director Caldwell speak to the money on this, but hopefully with the other building that there's a possibility that Knox County may be able to sell that. So it's just, I can't say enough, and I think the trustee will agree with me as far as the need. So.
A follow-up, do you have an estimated opening date?
No. We're working on Farragut right now, and I talked to the mayor of Farragut, Ron Williams, last week, and he is saying projected January. So we're hoping to get Farragut opened again, and that'll alleviate a little bit of the problem. But it's just the volume has been there for a long time. So we're hoping that to get Farragut running back, and then I would be just guessing way out there if I, even gave you any kind of an estimate. So it's just getting this part done, and then hopefully them getting started on it. Okay.
All right. Yes, sir. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, the building that we're currently in, I'm assuming that Knox County owns it.
They do.
What will happen to that building?
Hopefully, I should let Director Caldwell speak to that.
The plan will be to sell that building once we're out, and then we think what we can sell that building for will pay for the renovations of the space that is before you today.
Thank you.
So we'll front the cost on the front end, sell it, and then pay ourselves back.
Good.
Commissioner Oster.
Well, for the commissioner that this sits right in the middle of my district, I could not be happier, because we have picked up, and I know you and the trustee can attest to picking up a lot of Farragut constituents that's been coming over with that being closed, and then everything else. So we have definitely outgrown it by probably 10 years, but I think that's so exciting, and I'm really supportive of it and looking forward to cutting that ribbon on that new building.
Yes, yes.
Let me ask you guys, or Chris, it doesn't matter. That building is at the corner of Cedar Bluff and Executive Park. It's got a bank right now. No? Am I at the other end? You're at the wrong end. I'm at the other, okay, that's why I needed to ask. And then, is somebody here from the health department can ask, hello?
Afternoon, Kevin Parton, Knox County Health Department.
Hi. You and I actually talked about this a few months ago. If we got something bigger than we were going to be able, is the health department now going to be able to bring down an area where people can get their birth certificates and that kind of stuff now?
That is the goal, yes.
Okay, perfect, because that has been a big issue,
Yes.
that people in West have to drive downtown to get that, so,
Yeah.
awesome.
When
I
the
think
real
this-
ID comes back up again, it'll become even a bigger issue. So,
Perfect, awesome. Thank you, guys.
I'm very excited about this also. It's desperately needed, and the lack of parking and really the not very safe feeling situation getting in and out is
And I wanted to add,
certainly-
Madam Chairman, is that it's probably 2 miles from the other building. It's very close in proximity.
Probably more convenient even.
Oh,
Definitely-
way more convenient.
Definitely
Yeah.
easier getting in
Yeah,
and
and we'll
out.
take some of that pressure off of Old Middlebrook.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about this? Seeing none, thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jay, would you like to address item 50?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I've talked about this for 7 years, but we've talked about it in the last couple of years. The Arena Use Committee was formed when Knox County participated with the state of Tennessee and the University of Tennessee in 1980 to guarantee the bonds for the arena, Thompson Bowling Arena, to be built. The committee was formed to oversee the process. The building was built and the bonds were paid off 20 years later, but the Arena Use Committee never went away when the bonds went away. And it's been there ever since. And it hasn't met in the last 3 years, and we don't have any oversight. We don't have any management. We don't have any say or control over Thompson Bowling or Arena or Food City Arena or whatever it's called now. And we don't really have any use for this. And before we get into a new legislative session with new commissioners, what better time to say it's served its purpose and time to move on.
Thank you. Commissioner Daley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Commissioner Jay. I sat on this committee. We met one time a year, and that was just to go to a Lady Vols basketball game.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
I mean, that's about.
Take you to the basketball game.
Yeah, so it served its purpose, and I agree. I would second Commissioner Jay's comments.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other lights, we'll move on. I'm assuming no questions with honorary resolutions. All right, under presentations, Commissioner Frazier, you made the comment about making sure that Ms. Bumpus was on this agenda. Was this the item you were talking about?
Yes, Madam Chair. She called today to confirm that it will be next Monday.
Right.
Not this evening.
All right, wanted to make
Wanted to
sure
make
we
sure
were
that-
clear on that.
Yeah, and I had originally just invited her to do it. You know, we often hear about the things as it comes along, but to give kind of an annual update of all the great things that have happened in the past year and a half, and kind of what's to come. And they're, as we can see by our Finance Committee reports, their work is paying off dividends. And so good for her to come once a year and talk to us.
All right, thank you, sounds great. Questions, roads and drives? I'm looking at item 58. Seeing no lights. 59 and 60. I can briefly address those on these road closures. This is a road that is cut in the middle by the new Shod Road connector. One end of it ends at Ball Camp, the other end ends at Ball Road. It's very short on the two directions, and it really is a safety issue as far as having less access to Shod Road where there's not a light or turn lane or anything like that. So I have met with many of the homeowners and been a part of a HOA meeting, and they surveyed their people and were in agreement with this. So I've. All right, hold on. Would you, if you would like to speak, I'd be happy to let you come up and recognize yourself. All right. Anyway, as I was saying, I did meet with the HOA, was at a meeting. I don't believe I met either of the people that are speaking tonight, but they did poll their HOA, for the ones that answered this was the overwhelming desire. So again, even this is sponsored by Engineering Public Works. Mr. Snowden, if you'd like to come forward perhaps and just address the safety issues regarding with this road, I'm glad to have you. And sir, I will let you speak for a moment, in a moment. If you could if you
I'm
could,
3504 Low Betty.
sir,
I don't want to see this happen.
all right, well, if you would step aside, please, just for a moment. Commissioner Snowden.
Yes, ma'am, Commissioners, I appreciate it. Yeah, this is, these two items, 59 and 60, the one 59, the one that closes, essentially closes the rail, the at-grade rail crossing on the south, let's say the south side, is one that was identified in we had CDM Smith do a traffic study, because one of the things that we know, or we wanted to forecast was, once Shawd Road opens, there's going to be a lot of what we would consider maybe unintended impacts. So we wanted to look for those proactively. One of the things that they identified was this rail closure really needed to be done. So we're very supportive of that. We think that if anybody's ever drove the intersection of Low Betty and Ball Road, Ball Camp Pike, they know it's pretty steep. The lines of sight at Low Betty at the railroad crossing are very problematic. So that study, as well as my department, was very supportive of this closure. Item 60, which is the closure on the north, is one that I think several of you have been engaged with some of the residents out there, and I think their concerns are cut through traffic and safety along that northern section. So this was the idea put forth through them. I have heard positive and negative about that. So, and I think I shared some emails, I think, with you all as a group. So that particular item wasn't codified in the study, but I think it was more genesis based on the folks that did live along that section, their concerns with cut-through traffic and speeding. We will be installing a traffic signal at Bakertown. There's going to be a multi-use development there that will pay for that signal, as well as widening Bakertown Road from Ball Camp all the way to Ball Road. So that road will be improved and a signal will be installed there. Now that obviously will be sometime probably down the road once the road gets complete. But I would ask too that if we were to receive legislative approval on one or both of these, that we would wait until the road is completely done to kind of close them off. That way we wouldn't necessarily negatively impact anybody in the meantime. But that was kind of what I'd like to add to the context, and be happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you. So I think I hear you saying that your the intention really is to, especially between Ball Road and Shawd Road, to make Bakertown kind of the major cut through, as opposed to roads like Low Betty that are already very dangerous and narrow and have limited population.
Yes, ma'am. That would be where the signal would certainly be where most people would cut over. And I think there's going to be some commercial there too, so it'll just be a lot busier location than Low Betty would necessarily be with its residential setting.
All right, thank you. Sir, if you would like to give your name and address, please, I'd be glad to hear a few comments.
3504 Low Betty. Name's Randy Fox. Been there 35 years. Roll out the end of my street, drive right straight across, go to Ball Camp, Amherst, 35 years. You put a little cul-de-sac 25 foot in front of me, it's going to put 4, possibly 5, maybe 5.5 miles on my trip every day. I mean, that's just a one way back around to go. I got a little business, I haul a little equipment off the dead ends out of Low Betty. I have for 35 years. That's my concern. The new road's open. Police department, the ambulance, they come down the new street either way to the 3,000, 3,500. They turn on Low Betty, boom, you got a dead end. They got to get back out of there, come back around Bakertown or Johnson Road. I'm laying up there half dead with a damn heart attack or something, and they're running around trying to find me.
Sir, are you on
The street is way too short for 2 cul-de-sacs. Low Betty is a dead-end street anyway. It just crosses between two roads. And I live on the dead-end side, and I just hate to see this happen to me, you know.
When you say you live on the dead-end side of Low Betty,
Ball Road. If you're coming west on Ball Road, turn right on Low Betty, that street is dead end.
no, sir, it isn't, sir.
Low Betty, I've lived there for 35 years.
On the northern
The north,
end, but the closure is on the other side of Shad, correct?
It's on both sides. It's on both sides.
North of Ball Road or south of Ball Road?
North.
Because Low Betty goes north of Ball Road too.
yeah, I live on the
on the
north,
dead end
the
portion?
dead end.
Okay, yeah, we're not touching that.
I know, you're going to shut me off from driving straight across to the new road.
Correct, where you can't get to the road, you have to go
Yeah.
around the back. Okay, good deal.
Right.
Well, the emergency vehicles and all, if they
Well-
come down
I
the
see
new
what you're
road
saying.
and turn on 3000, they're going to just be, they can't get to
3504.
me. They got to come back around either
Sir,
way
sir.
to get to me.
Sir, I genuinely understand your concern. I will say that, from your location, your first crossroad then is Ball Road, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, and then instead of you going straight across through Low Betty, it would just be, I'm thinking it would just be a matter of not even a quarter of a mile to access Bakertown Road. The difference there
Yeah,
is
it's a little further than that. It's a little more aggravating. Now I've got to go up the road, take my equipment and go through the daggone traffic lights.
and
Or-
the advantage is you will have a traffic light to get out there on Shad Road.
100 yards I'm on the new road. It's straight in front of me.
Well, I
front of me.
appreciate your comments very much, sir, and they'll certainly be taken into consideration. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm in Caracade.
Pull the microphone down, please. And if I could just have your name and
Hilma
address,
Castillo.
please.
I'm sorry?
Your name and address?
I'm Hilma Castillo, and I'm 3302 Kaylin Grace, part of the Caracade. Right there where the HOA, it's not the HOA. Again, there's 34 houses, only 14 people went to that, and not everybody is in agreement. And that's another reason why 14 people went there. That's another set of problems with the HOA. But I'm not getting into that because we're not talking about that today. That will be a major issue. In my research, 16,000 cars come through that road every single day. I have been living there for 2 years, but like this gentleman, he has been living there for over 30. And he can tell how overwhelming the amount of traffic has become.
60,000 cars go down Low
16,000
Betty
cars
Road?
that will go through the new Shad extension. 16,000 every single day.
16,000.
If we cut that road from Low Betty, the other only to cut through, and it's not straight, will be Johnston or Bakertown. What are we going to do with everybody that is in the other end that takes Oak Ridge Highway? Are we bringing all of those people at 7 a.m. to drive to Bakertown for that red light?
No, ma'am, they'll access it at Shad Road.
Exactly, but you're cutting Shad Road right there. I was telling him I completely agree with the railroad track because it's really dangerous, but no from Low Betty to Shad. Everybody needs to access Shad Road directly. And again, like he was saying, I have an elderly mom living with me. If I have an emergency through the night, that will cut minutes. And minutes can be the difference between life and death. Kids going to school. Some people are taking 40 minutes to get to school. If you close the nearest streets to cut through, that will still be the problem. We haven't solved anything if we keep closing. I think you're not visioning. You're looking at me with a face that I'm not understanding. I think you're not visioning exactly how Shad Road comes together with the intersections that are there. The intersection from Bull Road to Shad Road through Lobetti is not dangerous at all. It's a two-way lane. I don't see the danger there.
Have you noticed the need to put up a traffic control signal there because there was so much speeding?
I live in that corner, and there is no speeding. I saw the sign. If we need to close every single road because people go through speeding, we will be closing a lot of roads in Knox County, and that is not a reason to me. It is more powerful to have easy access for emergency vehicles. It is more important to have easy access for the kids to get to school, not having to wake up at 6 a.m. because they have to get out of the house at 6:30, otherwise they're not getting to school on time, or be on the bus for hours and get to their houses at 4 p.m. after leaving school at 2:45 because that's what it takes for the traffic. I don't think you live right there. I don't think you've seen the big picture of what closing that road could bring. And that is what I'm here today. I'm opposed, and I posted it in some of the bigger groups in Carnes, and everybody's dumbfounded that was done, and nobody but Caracade has received that letter. I'm here today because I received the letter. Some of the other neighbors have not. Only Caracade. Caracade wasn't meant to be a closed community. If someone wanted to be in a closed community, they needed to move somewhere else where there is one, not to take the advantage to close a road just for them to not see people speeding or going through the subdivision. They're public roads. Anybody can drive by. And that's, again, not a reason to close it. That concludes my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will state that as far as safety issues go, I can assure you that fire and rescue will be well aware of the road closure there. And I will also remind people that Ball Road is a direct shot also to Shad Road, to Lobetti Road also. So this is something that has been well vetted. Letters were sent, in fact, and there was a sign posted on the road
On Friday.
about this, and it has been on our agenda.
And today's Monday.
Well, you did find out about it?
Friday, yes.
All right.
I received the letter on Friday, too.
All right, well, it was on your HOA's Facebook.
Why is not proposing that?
This was on your HOA's Facebook, ma'am, is that correct?
Can I speak? Approach. Okay, my name is Sola Arroyo. I also live in the Caracade subdivision, 6530 Caracade Lane. So if we want to address the HOA, so there was our HOA annual meeting, June 21st, I believe.
Yes, I was there.
And that was the day that you visited our subdivision, and it was posted in our Facebook page that it was going to be an informational meeting with our county commissioner. There wasn't going to be any voting in the communications that we did receive. There was no mention that there was going to be voting involved. So it was just an informational meeting. So, there was a meeting. Not everyone could attend the meeting. Like she said, only 14 of the houses were represented out of 34. So after the meeting that you attended, there was the annual meeting. I wasn't able to attend. But apparently, during that meeting, a vote was taken by the 14 houses that were represented, and the 14 houses that were represented thought that it would be fair for the rest of us to only be informed of this over a Facebook poll, and that a Facebook poll would be sufficient for us to vote on something as important as this. So I communicated to our HOA president that we have bylaws that have a voting process. Advanced communication has to be given if there's going to be a vote. there's a process for submitting proxies for people who can't attend the meeting and the vote. None of that was done. So, we spoke over the phone shortly after that day, after that meeting, because I wasn't able to attend, so I was only aware of it via Facebook. And we talked about what happened at the meeting, and at no point did I get the sense, we did not discuss that this was going to be on the county commission agenda, or that this was an item that was already established to be in the agenda during that phone call. That this was just a survey of the community feeling, that you had been invited and you attended, and all well. But I was surprised to see those signs go up, and for us to receive that letter from Engineering and Public Works just this Friday, because at no point did the HOA inform the community that there was a citizen request sent for this closure to happen. So I don't know what they have told you. There has been no voting process in accordance with our HOA bylaws. I'm just very surprised to see this as an actual agenda item. We only found out about it Friday when we got the letters and we saw the signs go up. And I've lived in Caracade since 2021, October 21 is when I moved in. And during the process of buying that house, it was well advertised that Shad Road, the extension, was gonna go right behind our houses.
It certainly was.
There was no surprise there. I bought the house thinking that that was an advantage to have such easy access to this new road. So I'm not sure what other residents are thinking, because it was well advertised and well known that Shad Road was gonna be there. And I work out in Oak Ridge. I work 10-hour days. I need to get out of the house. I come back to the house late. So to have that access removed and have my commute be, longer, I don't understand what the reasoning is. So Lobetti from Ball Road to Shad Road is a 2-lane road. It's actually, I would think it's safer than what Bakertown is today and what Johnson, because there's parts of Bakertown and Johnson that reduce and people have to pull to the side so the other car can come through. That's not a thing in the Lobetti Road portion that we have from Ball to Shad. So I'm surprised that we're here. I'm surprised that the HOA is claiming that they vetted this with the community, because they did not. There was no vote, not in accordance with our bylaws. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. And I personally cannot address your HOA's bylaws or the process that they follow. I was invited to come and present this. I did present it. I'm closing discussion
I
at this
understand, but
point.
you cannot say that, because the letter says all residents in the Caracade subdivision. Why is he not proposing the closing on that particular side? I totally agree with the railroad. He's
right.
not proposing that.
I have one question. When you all moved in, how did you access?
Ma'am, I am a realtor for 6
When
years
you-
in the
when you moved
Knoxville
in,
area.
How did you access Oak Ridge Highway or Middlebrook Pike when you all moved into your home?
Through Lobetti.
Through Lobetti to where?
Lobetti.
To
the
where?
railroad, and that's why I know it is very dangerous, and I completely agree with the closure
So
right
ho-
there.
How did you access those two roads? How did you access Oak Ridge Highway, or how did you access
Through
Middlebrook
Lobetti,
Pike?
ma'am. Through Lobetti.
Lobetti to where?
Lobetti to Bull Camp, Lobetti to Bull Road.
So your
Now,
your
that will
destin-
eliminate if I
your
can access it
destination,
through
ma'am,
Shad Road.
Your route is still the same. Your route does not change. You will be going the way you have always gone. You will
It
be
seems like you have a
accessing Ball
personal
Road.
interest in this, really, because you're defending it with heart. So I really don't understand this. Thank you.
I've shut the microphone off. This is something that's being proposed. Yes, and certainly you may. Oh, hold on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question for Mr. Snowden. Can you please quickly summarize? We understand the railroad crossing on the other end. Can you summarize from an engineering's perspective, the justification for the proposed shutting down of the northern part of that?
Yep. This was something brought to me from Commissioner Hill. She had met with some of the folks out there, and we've heard from those folks too, that that section of Low Betty from the New Shod Road down to Ball Road, that there was a lot of speeding, a lot of cut through traffic and things like that. So I think they
Can you
approached.
also mention our engineering team that they had a part of the traffic study?
Yes, the traffic study that was done by CDM Smith did not identify this as a recommendation. This was something that I think some of the constituents of Commissioner Hill brought to her and then subsequently proposed as part of this agenda.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to explain to the two residents that are joining us here tonight. Every road closure takes 2 readings for a reason. We go through it, we talk about it. This is the talking about it meeting. We vote on it next week. If it passes next week, then there's a whole nother month process that community continues to have input on, and then we talk about it again, and then we vote on it again. So there's a multi-layer process. So the process has not passed you by. You are in the middle of the process now, and certainly we can't get into your HOA bylaws or the voting. I mean, it's a private personal matter with you and your neighbors, but if an HOA votes, whether they do legal or not, again, I can't get into that. They speak collectively for the community, just like if 5 of us vote no and 6 vote yes, then the commission has spoken as a body. So you are in the middle of the process, and I know, but we can't get into the HOA bylaws. So that's gonna have to be a personal matter, but you're in the middle of it. If it passes next week, or even next week, if you have people that vehemently do not want this, then have them participate. If other people do want it, they will also come participate, and we'll hear both sides of the case. And if it gets passed next week, then we'll sit down for a month and have a discussion. Maybe there's alternative ideas, maybe there's alternative plans, but I just don't want you to think like this is already done, and I mean, you're in it now. So, but we're never gonna get into the HOA bylaws and who ran the rules correctly or not. So I appreciate you guys coming, but okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that, Commissioner Jay. Again, we cannot address that process. Whether you choose or choose not to be involved with their HOA is another matter entirely also. You're welcome. All right.
Chair.
Commissioner Ward.
Thank you. Mr. Snowden, can I ask you a question? I don't think anybody's arguing the ball camp section. I know this road very well. I've driven it 1,000 times, I feel like, at this point in my life. Is there a possibility of making a right in and a right only instead of it going for through?
I was thinking the same thing as we were sitting here talking about that. I don't know if that addresses some of the folks' concerns. I still think that could result in some of the lingering concerns. I think it might address some of them, but and Commissioner Hill can speak to that. She's been talking to him a little more than I, but I think that might help, but I don't know if it would completely resolve the issue for them.
Sure. So I know this road because I've cut through it 100 times, especially in my early career. So Shod Road will alleviate a lot of the stress on Ball Camp and on Ball Road. That'll be the highway through that whole entire section. So in theory, that would collect half the traffic off both those roads and shoot it through, and it won't be an issue. For Ball Road and Ball Camp should then be a residential road for the immediate residents, since there's a 4-lane highway going down the middle that people can bypass everything else with. So I do think La Betty will turn into more of a local residential road, and if you make it right hand off Shod and right hand on the Shod only, you won't have the risk, and you won't have the traffic flow that would normally happen. You wouldn't have any backup either because there wouldn't be any stopping, trying to turn left or trying to cross. I think a happy medium would probably be that if it's doable, and if we can buy a little bit of a shoulder for a turnoff, then it would be a really good idea in that sense, because that would be the safest option. I understand work, school, all the arguments that are made tonight. The road isn't a terrible road on that side. On the other side, it actually is very dangerous with the railroad tracks and everything else. It's, I won't let my guys drive on it now because of that reason. But I do understand the argument being made. I don't want traffic crossing or going left, but I can see and would agree with a right hand only, and right hand off and right hand on would make a lot of sense to me in this situation.
Yeah, and Commissioner Ward, we can look at that and see if we have the right of way and the space to do that. One thing I would add too that's going to help, the development that is going to occur at Bakertown, the folks in Low Bedding Landing, which is a subdivision on the south side of the new road, they'll actually be able, they've stubbed into that property, so we're going to get them over to Bakertown. So if you live in Low Betty Landing, you'll also be able to get to that traffic signal without going across the railroad crossing into Ball Camp. So
that's perfect. We can cut off that left-hand turn, so that's not an issue. So I think, yeah, my personal opinion, and I would, I would make a substitute motion to change it to be a right-hand only, right-hand out situation. I agree. I don't know if the closure is necessarily needed, but I think the right-hand turn would be the most sensible if that works for you guys. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate what you're saying about this, and I'm fairly certain a right turn in is not going to be feasible, given the property that I know that it lays on that corner. And really this is my effort to do what the majority of the people on that road have asked to do. And in fact, this changes nothing for the people already living on that road, because their access has been Ball Road from the day they moved in anyway. That's the way it was when they moved in. So that particular piece is not changing at all for them. It is an effort to cut down on this pass-through traffic and to prevent less entrances and exits from Shad Road that will not have a light or turn lane or anything. So at any rate, I appreciate you. And if there's no more from the commission, if there's no more comments or questions on that, Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Snowden, my right hand, right in, right out in South Knoxville, drivers don't obey those. It's more of a danger by putting a right in and a right out. And I can take you and sit there at Johnsonville Highway. They'll go over into the other lane to wait to go. So before you do a right in and Shad Road will have a middle lane.
It's median divided.
So if there's a space for them to stop and turn, they will go around the island to do that. So
it's very challenging to design a road if somebody's going to make those movements. Yes, sir. We see that also.
Yeah, I just want to make that, I see it all the time when I'm going, it's dangerous. They pull right out in front of you and they're in the wrong lane to turn to go that way. So, thank you.
All right. All right. Moving on, commissioners. Let's see. Any question on budget amendments? Spread of record. Ordinance first reading. Are there any questions or comments? I'm looking at number 65. Ordinance is on second reading, 66 or 67. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we are adjourned until zoning at 5 o'clock. Thank you.